2, I'd like to call to order the annual town meeting of the town of Seymour to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Paul Roy. I'm your first selectman. And I'm going to be turning the meeting over to our moderator, Steve Koulas. There are microphones up here for anybody that wants to speak. Feel free to speak. Just remember, we need to be courteous to all speakers. We may disagree on items, but we don't need to be disagreeable. So I appreciate that. And I think we'll probably, if people need to speak, the moderator will probably set a time limit if we're starting to get too long-winded. But pretty much you're going to be able to speak if you need to. Okay? I'm going to turn the meeting over now to Steve Koulas, the moderator.
Thank you, Mr. Roy. As Mr. Roy has indicated, my name is Stephen Koulas. I am the town moderator. Our first order of business is to determine if we have a quorum. To determine if we have a quorum, we have to know who is eligible to vote in this meeting. There are two criteria. You can be 18 years old and registered to vote as an elector of the town of Seymour. Or you, if you're not registered, still can own $1,000 worth of taxable property in the town of Seymour. For example, if you live in Derby, but you own a house in Seymour that's worth more than $1,000, you are eligible to vote at this meeting and to participate. All those meeting either one of those two criteria, please raise the hand so our town clerk can determine if we have a quorum.
I'm going to count the ones that I don't see their hands up, because I did count 70, 77, 78, 79.
Okay. According to our town clerk, we do have a quorum, so at this time I will ask Mrs. Esther Rosen to read the call of the meeting.
The notice of the annual town meeting, Town of Seymour, Thursday, April 22nd, 2010. The annual town meeting of the electors and citizens qualified to vote in the town meetings of the Town of Seymour, Connecticut will be held at Seymour Middle School, 211 Mount Road, Seymour, Connecticut, Thursday, April 22nd, 2010 at 7 p.m. Item 1, to consider and act upon by vote, move to authorize the issue of notes in anticipation of the receipt of taxes for the fiscal year commencing July 1st, 2010, in an amount not to exceed $2 million to pay in order to maintain the continued 2010. Hereupon, the town voters will act on the budgets. This action will occur by machine vote at the community center, 20 Pine Street, from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Town revenues. Town fees, assessments, and interest income, $2,213,366. State education funding and tuition revenue, $10,078,381. Other state funding, $1,006,044. Use of general fund surplus, none. Capital fund projects, reimbursement, property taxes at 27.98 mils on net grant. A list of $1,373,310,230 at 98% collection rate. $37,431,157. Total town revenues, $50,728,948. Town government expenditures, $15,312,490. Board of Education, $30,087,491. Debt service costs, $5,148,967. Senior citizens freeze, $50,000. Contingency fund, CGS 7-348, $130,000. Total town expenditures, $50,728,948. There will be a town vote on Thursday, April 29, 2010 at the Community Center, 20 Pine Street, from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Questions. A. Shall the town general government budget, as recommended by the Board of Finance, of $20,641,457 for the fiscal year 2010-2011 be adopted? Options, yes or no. B, shelf Board of Education budget as recommended by the Board of Finance of $30,087,491 for the town of Seymour for the fiscal year 2010-2011 be adopted. Options, yes or no. Dated at Seymour, Connecticut, this 14th day of April 2010 by the Board of Selectmen. Paul Roy, First Selectman, John Conroy, Kurt Miller, Ann Marie Bronis, Bill Wilme, Carl Tribus, and Sandra Gesson.
Thank you, Mrs. Rose. Ladies and gentlemen, to my far right is Chairman of the Board of Finance, Mark Thompson. I also know that there are several department, if not all of our department heads in attendance tonight, as well as Mr. Roy. If at any time you have a question of any of the department heads, or either Mr. Roy or Mr. Thompson, I ask that you address it to me rather than getting in a straight dialogue with any of them. There are two items on the agenda, and as you know, the clerk read the first one. It concerns borrowing, and that is to be voted on tonight. So therefore, since it's the first item, the chair will entertain a motion as to the first item on our call.
I'd like to make that motion.
Can you come to the mic and state your name and address, please?
Philip Wilme, 116 Maple Street, Seymour, Connecticut. Item move to consider and act upon by vote. Move to authorize the issue of notes in anticipation of the receipt of taxes for the fiscal year commencing July 1, 2010, in an amount not to exceed $2 million to pay current expenses and obligations of the town, and to authorize the Board of Selectmen or its designees to determine the amount, date, interest rates, maturities, form, and other details of the notes, and to bind the town pursuant to such representations and covenants as deemed necessary or advisable in order to maintain and continue exemption from federal income taxation of interest on the notes, including covenants to pay rebates of investments earnings to the United States in future years.
Thank you, Mr. Wilme. Is there a second, ladies and gentlemen? Is there a second? Yes, sir.
Bruce Baker, 68 Greenwood Circle. I second the vote.
Second by Mr. Baker. We will entertain comment and debate from the public as to item number 1 only. I ask that you come up, you state your name and address, approach the mic. For the first time around, we will limit your comments to 3 minutes. Once everyone who has an opportunity to be heard has spoken, we come up if there's any second comments, second rounds, you can speak longer. So at that, the chair will open the floor for any comments as to item number 1 only. Yes, ma'am.
Michelle Padlock, 5 M Street. For the benefit of people who might not be familiar with what this first item on the agenda is, would anybody up there be able to explain to everybody what it is that was just done? Thanks.
Gentlemen?
I'll try to answer this for you, Michelle, and for the public. My understanding is that this is a motion that allows the town to borrow money, if we have to borrow money, should the budget not pass in time. So it's sort of a safety valve for us. It would not be used unless it was actually necessary.
Any further questions, comments, debate? Hearing none. Last chance. Anyone wish to address item number 1 on the budget? Hearing none, the chair will call for a vote. Now, everyone raised their hand that indicated they were eligible, or those people are eligible to vote. Since there's a small number of people, I'm not going to ask you to come up and check your name off with the registrar. However, if any single person vote is challenged, then you would have to provide valid ID to the registrar to prove that you're either a registered voter in this town or own $1,000 worth of taxable property. Hearing that, all those in favor of the motion signify by raising their hands. Madam Clerk, will you count, please? All those, any opposed, raise their hands. There's one, two. Sir, is your hand up? Yes. Okay. One, and this gentleman over here has his hand up. Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion carries. Now, ladies and gentlemen,